Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to another edition of NoDQ&A video right here on NoDQ.com, the YouTube channel, and NoDQ&A videos affiliate, ringsidenews.com. Got your questions here via spring.me/AaronRift, so let's get right down to it. With the first one today from Liam Tennant. Salutations, Aaron. I read in an article that if Triple H versus Daniel Bryan happens at Mania, Triple H will go over. What are your thoughts? If it's true, I think it's ridiculous that they wouldn't just let Bryan go over. Please answer via carrier pigeon. Well, can't do carrier pigeon, but I could do the next best thing, answer in video for you, because that's how everyone likes it. Regarding Triple H and Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania, that match has not even been announced yet, so let's wait and not jump to conclusions and panic over nothing. It's all speculation and hearsay at this point anyways. My opinion is that if Triple H was to go over, it would be a complete disaster for the pay-per-view. The only way they could avoid fans crapping on everything would be to end the pay-per-view with Triple H beating Daniel Bryan. And I don't think that that'll be the last match on the show. And I would be shocked if Triple H actually beat Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania. I don't think WWE is that insane. I think that Daniel Bryan beating Triple H would be a very satisfying moment and a good conclusion to the whole Daniel Bryan versus Authority storyline. And to me, the only logical option is for Daniel Bryan to beat Triple H and then go on to challenge the champion at the next pay-per-view. All right, this one comes from Acid Vegas. I think CM Punk fans are overreacting comparing CM Punk being pulled from shows openings to the Benoit treatment. Why would WWE continue to promote someone that walked out on the company, and what is your take on the situation? I do think that fans are overreacting a little bit. I think that WWE is handling it just fine right now. They just need to wait and see what happens, see what CM Punk does, and just take it 1 week at a time. There's no need to make any drastic changes other than just prepare for the future without CM Punk, hence removing him from the Raw opening or whatever, and they can always reinsert him if he comes back. I do think that at some point, if it's clear Punk is not coming back, it might be in WWE's best interest to say something on television, have Michael Cole announce that CM Punk has left the WWE and wish him well in his future endeavors and say that, the door is always open for him to come back. WWE could be worse about this. They could do what they did with Steve Austin walking out and completely bury the guy, and they haven't done that. So, I think they've been handling it just fine up to this point. But I do think that in a couple weeks, if he's not coming back, they should say something on television. All right, this one comes from Panthers fan 0189. Hey Aaron, seeing as how Eric Young took Abyss's mask off on Impact, do you think we're going to have TNA's version of Unmasked Kane? Answer in video, please. I suppose that could be a direction for TNA where Abyss is just now without the mask. I am happy that they're finally doing something with this whole Abyss Joseph Park angle. I mean, it's gone on for way too long, and I'm glad that the mask is finally off and they're finally reaching a conclusion to this storyline. At this point, I think you can just have him without the mask. I mean, it doesn't really matter one way or another. I just hope they stop doing the whole Joseph Park thing. I've really had it with that storyline. But the way they did it on Impact, I thought was really well done, and that was a tremendous match. That was one of the best Impact matches in a long time. So, I'll give TNA credit for finally doing something with this storyline. All right, this next one comes from Sam Axe. Hey Aaron, if Sting comes to WWE and has a couple of big matches, besides Taker, who would be your picks for him to face? Thanks. Well, there's been a lot of talk right now about holding off on a Sting WrestleMania match until WrestleMania 31, and maybe then you could do Sting versus Undertaker. In my opinion, I think that it's probably too late to do Sting and Undertaker for this year's WrestleMania when you have Brock Lesnar around and you have the Brock Lesnar Taker match that you can do. and you could just wait and see how things go with Sting. There's several matches you can do with him besides Undertaker. The obvious one being Sting versus John Cena. Sting was the biggest star or the face of WCW for several years, and John Cena's the face of WWE, so that makes sense to do that match. And Sting versus Randy Orton, I could definitely see them doing, and that way you have Sting up against the top heel, and maybe even Sting versus Batista. So there's several big matches you could do, even Sting versus Brock Lesnar, but I think that one's unlikely. I think in all likelihood we'll probably, if Sting comes into WWE, maybe we'll get Sting versus Randy Orton, maybe Sting versus John Cena, and then Sting versus Undertaker. But I don't see Sting doing a lot of matches in WWE. I mean, if they're gonna bring him in, I could see him doing maybe 3 at the most. All right, this one comes from 1351. Hey Aaron, please answer in video. Has there been any matches that stand out to you that you think should have been a WrestleMania potential match? For me, I'd go with Big Show versus Mark Henry for the reason the ring collapsed. But that's just me. Thanks. Take care. Well, if I was going to have a match at WrestleMania with the ring collapsing, I would have done the Big Show Brock Lesnar match, but that's just me. There's a lot of matches that I think could have been a WrestleMania match that should have been a WrestleMania match. Any match that was a rematch from WrestleMania that was actually better than the WrestleMania match. Perfect example was Chris Jericho versus CM Punk at the Extreme Rules pay-per-view in 2012. I thought that match was way better than the WrestleMania match. And there were several other examples. And, another match that stands out to me was Chris Benoit and Kurt Angle from the Royal Rumble. I mean, that was definitely a WrestleMania potential match. And that could have been a main event at WrestleMania. And Kurt Angle versus Shane McMahon at the King of the Ring. I mean, there's just so many of them. It's just impossible to name a few. I mean, there's so many out there. And leave a comment on YouTube. I mean, this is an interesting topic here. What matches do you think that could have been at WrestleMania that were good enough? Just go ahead on the YouTube comments and leave your thoughts. Moving on here, another question from Kayfabe Candy Ass. Do you think it takes away some of Titus O'Neil's heat when he just acted heelish on TV and then they show him at the Be a Star gathering? Maybe I'm too old school, but I don't think they should show the heels. They can do it, but they don't need to show it. I think you make a good point here. I have no issue with the heels breaking character at these Be a Star events and, public appearances with WWE, stuff for public relations. But as far as actually showing it on TV, I don't think WWE should do that. As a viewer of WWE, I like to be able to suspend disbelief when I'm watching the television shows. So I really don't like seeing the breaking of characters and kayfabe being broken on television. When it's on the website, the website's okay. I don't really have an issue with them breaking character on the website. But on television, I don't think that you should ever break character. That's just my take on it. Whatever they want to do on the website or at public gatherings, that's fine. Got another one here from Kayfabe Candy Ass. I really should do an all Kayfabe Candy Ass edition one of these days. With WWE adding a pre-game show before Raw when WWE Network launches, do you see Raw taking that opportunity to drop back to 2 hours and use the first hour for all the pre-show babble with a Superstars quality match or two? I don't see that happening because WWE still has the USA Network deal, and that's extremely lucrative for WWE. USA Network is happy with the 3 hours, and the ratings have been good for the most part with those 3 hour shows. So, I don't see that changing. I mean, that's not even WWE's call. That's a USA Network call. And, as long as they're happy with 3 hours, Raw's going to be a 3 hour show. So you just got to deal with it. And, whatever else they tape, that would obviously be featured on the network. But, WWE has a commitment to USA Network or whatever network they are on airing Raw in the future. That's a lot of money to be made with those TV rights. And, as long as the network wants 3 hour shows, WWE has to deliver. All right, that'll wrap it up for this edition of No DQ&A video. Thanks as always for watching. Submit your questions, spring.me/AaronRift, and just a note to Kayfabe Candy Ass and anybody else who sends me like 20 questions. In the future, if you can, just try to submit maybe 2 or 3 really well thought out, unique questions instead of 20 random questions hoping I'll answer one of them. But Kayfabe, one of these days maybe I will do an edition dedicated to you because you're so special. But before I sign off here, I got one more question. Just like Christian has one more match, I have one more question from Anti-Stress Kid. Hey Aaron, do you think WWE will ever introduce the unified WWE World Title belt? If so, when? I honestly have no idea what that situation is all about, other than the fact that 2 titles means you have 2 separate titles you can sell on WWEshop.com and potentially make twice as much money as opposed to having 1 championship belt. Really doesn't make sense to have 2 titles if you have a unified champion, but they're looking at it from a merchandising standpoint, and if you have 2 titles, you can have 2 titles that sell and people buying both belts. So that's their whole mentality on it, and I don't know if we're going to see a unified title, and they may be considering separating the titles again and making them separate. So I mean that's always a possibility as well, and they're just going to wait and see how things go and make a decision down the line. So don't really know what they're doing with that. All right, that'll do it for No DQ&A video. Check out NoDQ.com for the latest in WWE and TNA, and I will see you guys next time for more.